This feels so much more intense than last year, and I don't really know what it is about. Maybe it's because it capped last year at like 50, and watching the numbers slowly tick up one by one is like, whoo, sure are a number of folks here, aren't there? You're all good animals. Good kinfolk. I'm glad to have you. Oh, hey, I see friends. Hello. Yeah, the chats are moving fast this year. Like boom, 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 boom. I'm just kind of like keeping an eye on it as I wait for my other dog friend. And
Hey, I'm gonna be recording this for y'all. Do you want me to slow down the chats at all? I know if they're going a little bit fast right now, and I had to slow down another one just a minute ago, like the last panel. Do you want me to
um
slow this one down as well a bit?
I as long as everybody is like okay with knowing that if you want to get our attention with questions, maybe to go to the questions
Question
channel.
panel.
My
Yeah.
we do have Jay, who is a good dog that will be monitoring the chat for us as best as we possibly can. And I love people talking. I think it's great.
All right,
Jay
Jay.
wants the chat to slow
Yeah,
down.
that's what I figured. Uh, I'll put it down to 15 seconds. If it gets too bad, then I'll bump it up to 30. But yeah. All right.
You're all
Um,
beautiful. I love to see you chat.
I'll let you know whenever I start recording, or you can just tell me whenever. So
Yeah,
cool.
I think the questions channel is right here, right?
Oh, hello.
Um, and so if you want to guarantee that people see your question, I imagine Jay will be keeping an eye on that, but also the chat in general. But they're a good dog, and we have mods here as well who are awesome. So, hey Pete, what's up? Welcome to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you for having me up here. I don't know.
I take your paw, I shake it. It's good to see you, my friend that I
It's
love,
good.
that I talk to every day.
It's good to see you too.
Aw, thanks. That's so sweet of you to say. I'm just very southern. Orion, is it Orion or Orion? I'm living currently in Lake Orion, and it's butchered my pronunciation of Orion, which I believe is the typical pronunciation. They pronounce it Orion here. Um, and, it's just lovely to see you in the chat. I just want to shout you out because I reread all of There today. But earlier today, while I was warming up for chat, because it was definitive for me and my species Euphoria. And so it's really lovely to see you in the chat. And I just want you to know that you're a big influence on this happening. So if you all in the chat haven't read There, I'm gonna plug it because I can. It's fantastic. Give
It
it a
is
read.
fantastic.
You deserve it. It's good for you. It'll be species euphoric for you probably. It'll probably hit you somewhere in there. So
Trying to make sure I have all my notes pulled up.
So the questions first before we get started. What are our stereotypes? We're gonna touch on that. We're gonna introduce ourselves a little bit when we get started. Are we gonna go different types of euphoria? We are going to define euphoria as both a term in general, as it applies to species euphoria, and we're also going to mention gender euphoria because we think there's a little bit of overlap. So that's going to kind of be what we're going to cover there. So I hope that helps. All right. We ready to rock and roll?
I think I am.
All right. Jay, if you want to throw up our first panel.
Oh, do we want to link the?
And we can link it too, yeah.
Just
We've
to
got
view the slides.
So we're going to, we know some folks have done a view only link, so we're going to link it, and we are recording now. Thank you. And we're going to put everything in the chat here so that people can follow along. Heck yeah, thank you all. Okay, so Welcome to our discussion, Live Like an Animal, a discussion on species euphoria. How we're basically going to do this is kind of similar to the way we did our panel last year, except now they have this cool thing where we can invite people up on stage to talk. So we may do a little of that. We'll see how it goes. We're going to do some talking, kind of talk about some of our experiences. We're going to talk about our personal beliefs on this in general. And just kind of, do we need to be like streaming to the... So how are we doing this? Should we also go live, like on a video or something? Sorry to ask. I should have asked that when we got started.
I think since
Yeah, you can't do that on a stage.
We can't do it on a stage,
Jay's
yeah.
handling that for you.
Gotcha. Okay, just making sure. Okay, so yeah, we're just gonna kind of talk about different types of species euphoria, why it's important, why we feel like it should be an essential part of the kin experience, all that good stuff. So I can kick off and introduce myself first. I'm Sin. I'm the dog in the middle. I'm 29 years old. I come from Western North Carolina and consider myself Appalachian. You'll see me calling myself an Appalachian werewolf a lot. I'm red wolf subspecies. And yeah, it's funny because when I hear Sin aloud, I'm always like, there's two of us. And I point, we point at each other because you're a coyote and I'm a red wolf, I believe. And so it's kind of like, haha. But I became aware of being a wolf when I was around about 8 years old, and found the Therian community specifically when I was about 12. So I've been around for a little bit. This is some fantastic art, and I think we forgot to get our source. We did this last year too. We sourced everything else in this panel except for this.
it is
Gotchmon. Thank
Gotchmon
you,
on
Jay.
Twitter. Yeah, Jay just
Jay's
plugged
so
him in
strong. Jay's so strong. My favorite dog. Okay, so yeah, that's me.
I'm Pete. I'm the one with the brown fur on the left. I'm very bad at right and left.
Right.
I'm 31. I live in Illinois. I first found out about Otherkin and Therians when I was like 16 in the mid thousands through werewolf fandom online. And yeah, I've been trying to be an animal ever since then.
And then we have our good dog Jay. Jay's in the chat right now. You will see them being a wonderful supporter by posting all of our panels, providing all of the links and sources that we have used for this discussion, and generally just answering your questions. There they are right there. They're a very good dog. Pat their head, just give them a little scritch or a treat or something. They're very good dog.
Yes, Jay is very good.
Love them. They are also non-binary. They are also a werewolf. They have also been an animal for a long time and consider themselves to have joined the Otherkin community in 2013. I see everybody treating Jay, and I love to see it. It makes my heart so warm. Okay, going ahead and rolling into our next panel. I'm gonna be honest. When we were like, what are we gonna present on this year? We just decided we sat around and we just talked about being Otherkin for a little while, and what we felt passionate to us, and what hit us in a way that made us really want to get excited. Oh, I'm so sorry, Jay. That's my mistake. Do not pet Jay. Jay is not pettable, but you may offer them compliments. So wanted to lean into that. And basically what we found is that the thing that got us excited is, being kin and being dogs and being passionate about being something other than human. And we came across this really good quote from someone that I have a lot of love and respect for, Miss Dolly Parton. And it's find out who you are and do it on purpose. And so we wanted to kind of kick this off with a quote from Dolly Parton, because we kind of feel like that's what that's what the whole thing is about here, is just, figuring out who you are, do it on purpose every day, and learn how to embrace that as part of yourself.
Yeah, I think Dolly Parton is an inspiration to all of us, to be honest. And she is who she is, and she is herself on purpose, very visibly and vocally. She stands up for what she believes in. She does what she wants. She's great.
Yeah, we love her. And so going on to our next slide.
So euphoria is a feeling or state of intense excitement and happiness. Species euphoria is, as described by Ronnie, a Dragon's Journal on Tumblr, species euphoria is the feeling of comfort, happiness, and rightness that one experiences when they're able to present, represent, and be addressed as their correct species. It has been overlooked in the past, and people talk a lot about dysphoria, and we started the con with a species dysphoria meet and greet, but species euphoria is also very, very important. We all need good things in our lives.
Yeah, and Ronnie, I see you reacting in the chat. This is we wanted to make sure to credit you on here because it's a really good quote. Species euphoria being that comfort, rightness, and happiness that you experience is really important.
Yeah, and Ronnie, I just liked your definition. It was very concise and clear. So thank you for having written it.
Fun fact on the Dolly Parton slide, we did consider photoshopping Dolly Parton into we looked up her favorite animal and we were thinking about making her a little kin, and ultimately decided against it because it would have been a lot of work. But just in case you were curious, her favorite animal is butterflies.
She has multiple butterfly tattoos.
And she has multiple butterfly tattoos. Yeah, so we would have given her yellow wings because that's her favorite color. It's yellow. Everybody thinks it's pink. It's yellow. So anyway, that's your fun Dolly Parton fact of the day. Okay. Continuing on.
So our next slide, for all three of us who worked on this, putting this panel together, our species identity is pretty heavily related to our gender identity. And gender euphoria is actually like one of the main things that I looked into when I was first examining my own gender. I didn't feel a lot of what I realized was, like, I didn't realize that I was feeling gender dysphoria, but I did find things where if I didn't refer to myself as my assigned gender, I would get euphoria. So looking into that helped me learn a lot more about myself, and just gender euphoria is good. It's a good thing.
Yeah, and just like our plug is that, hey, we did a panel on this last year. If you'd like to see it, check that out. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, it's available on the YouTube for Othercon because they recorded it last year.
And yeah, it's good. I think it's pretty okay. I finally rewatched it the other day because I was like, oh no, I bet we rambled a bunch and it was terrible. And I rewatched it and I was like, oh, we didn't do too bad. So maybe this will be all right. Okay, so moving on, models of self-acceptance. So for several years, and kind of my long-term career and passion is that I do a lot of education on healthy relationships and how to and community building, as that's like my professional career. I say as a wolf, ha ha ha. But some careers are appropriate. And so I say all this to say, oh my gosh, thank you for this blessing of Dolly Parton butterfly.
Thank you, Castiel.
I'm
this is
sorry
beautiful.
for everybody who's listening to this recording later. If you are listening to this and you are not at Othercon, there's a Photoshop to Dolly Parton as a butterfly in the chat, and it's really beautiful. Shout out to Castiel who made this, and it's really wonderful. Thank you. So, models of self-acceptance. So earlier today, there was a panel. Which panel was it specifically? Oh my goodness. The trans species panel, I believe. There was a lot of talk about therapy and like whether therapists approve of being otherkin, basically. And what I'm sure many of you have found, but we wanted to ascertain loudly, is that this is heckin' therapist approved. I've never met a therapist, at least any therapist that I would call like a good therapist who helped people. I've never known a therapist who hasn't encouraged you to embrace this side of yourself, and that hasn't said this is something wonderful. At least every therapist I've had has always said, um, you know, this is a wonderful thing. It's about what helps you feel, about what helps you stand taller and have that sense of self-confidence. And any good therapist, whether they, whether they understand it even or not, should encourage this. And yeah, frankly, any therapist that doesn't support this isn't supporting you and probably isn't being a great therapist.
Yeah. If your therapist is discouraging your self-exploration and self-expression, that is not a therapist who should be working as a therapist. And like, you as a person going to therapy, you have a right to, and like, you deserve a therapist who will be there to support and help you and encourage you to do healthy things. And these are healthy things. Like, it is healthy to find species euphoria.
So in this case, this is what this is models around, is these models of self-acceptance and about having a sense of self-acceptance. Because self-acceptance leads to self-confidence, it leads to a more positive self-identity. And frankly, you deserve to be confident in your weirdness. Like, we're gonna have, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I have a bad tendency to do that. So leave it there. And continuing on, something really important for this kind of self-exploration is things like this, like Othercon, right? Like having community support and having, positive environments that encourage education over ostracization, that build bridges instead of walls, right? And that's what like this kind of setting is for, is, it's for us to have these conversations, like just for example, in the trans species panel today, there was someone saying, I had never really heard this term and I had some misconceptions about it, and now I understand it way better and may even feel that this relates to my personal experience. And that's an experience they wouldn't have had if we hadn't all gathered together at the watering hole here at Othercon and had this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to choose your friends, because having a non-judgmental and respectful place to explore who you are is crucial. It's like having that space, and that's not just us saying that. So when you look at the resiliency model across like, different types of, and yes, Blood Muffins, I when you were talking in your panel earlier, I was like, oh my gosh, we need to sit down and have a conversation, because you have some cool stuff to say that is like very on point with what we're excited about, which is that, what studies show us is that this resiliency model tells us that for people to be resilient and for people to, and so just real quick to define resiliency, it's basically the ability to endure trauma, right? Which we're all going to endure at some point in our lives. Realistically, life is hard, and there are going to be points in our lives that are going to be difficult. Like, whether we like it or not, we are always going to have these experiences that are going to be traumatic. And heck, we've all gone through a difficult past year, right? Of like world trauma, right?
That is so true.
And so definitely we're going to have these traumatic experiences in our lives. So it's about being able to adapt and survive, and being able to do it in a way that nurtures you and helps you grow instead of makes you stagnate. And having a positive outlook really helps. But like what the resiliency model basically says is that you need a combination of factors to be able to survive and be resilient. One of those factors really often is community support. It's having people in your life that see you, that love you for who you are, and that that are going to say, yeah, for us it means you are a dog. Maybe it means, my husband is kin with Hal Pendragon, calling him and acknowledging him as a wizard makes him happy, you know. There's all kinds of different, you know, ways that you can those kind of euphoric experiences. It's a quick and easy way to say I love you to somebody. It's a quick way, easy way to say I see you. And those kind of things build resiliency. There's so many good questions happening. I think we'll probably come to the questions at the end, but we're gonna.
I think that's a good idea.
We'll see. We see you, and you're good.
Also about community support, I want to say, like, in addition to paying attention to who your friends are, and, you know, like choosing friends who build you up and who respect you and who support you, also support your friends. And if your friends say something, like if they tell you they believe something and you don't understand, calmly talk to them. You know, don't attack them, but like learn from and support each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, you know, I had a conversation with some friends just last night about, you know, these terms that are kind of in between. And we've had some conversations about like hearted and, you know, people who are on the fringes of the community who, like, there's been a lot of gatekeeping through the years of keeping people out of the community because, oh, you aren't kin enough, or you don't kin in the right way, or, you know, whatever that might look like. And there's something to be said about making sure that we keep our communities safe and that we don't allow abusers to be in our community, and we don't allow like harmful power imbalances and people to manipulate others. But gatekeeping for the sense of you're not doing it in the right way, or you're not enough, or you don't remember all of your past life memories, so you can't be this, and you didn't predict the way your TV show is, so you're not really fiction kin, and we all know all the different things that people say. And it's a waste of time when we could be lifting each other up and making ourselves have better and more enriched lives.
Mm-hmm.
Helping ourselves. The world's hard enough without it making it worse for each other, right? So, that being said, on to the next slide, I think. Pete, anything else you want to say on that?
I don't think so. I think next slide is good. So
We have a guest presenter here. Legoshi is here for us.
Yeah, Legoshi is here to help us. Obviously, not all people in the world are nice. So sometimes it is important to assess how safe it is for you to express yourself in different ways. It's important to make sure that we won't be... I mean, obviously, I do not want to get into... I'm not saying, like, respectability politics are good, but I'm saying for your own safety, if you're in a place that's, like, full of people who won't be accepting, you know, don't wear a tail all the time. But find places where it is safe to wear a tail. You can wear a tail around your friends, in the privacy of your home. Furry cons. I've worn tails to art shows and concerts, and just assess your setting and who you will be with and how you want to be expressing yourself, and then go ahead and do the things.
And that's so much, it's like we can't emphasize enough that this isn't a matter of any of us trying to say that we don't think you should be otherkin out and about or anything like that. That this, we obviously think this should be something that's more accepted.
Yes.
But for a matter of your safety individually, we think this is a good guideline to follow. That's why we did the where, how, who, or where, who, how. Like, you know, where are you? Look around, say, is this a safe space? Who are you with? Are these people that are you with people that are gonna support you if something goes bad, if someone starts to harass you? And, you know, how are you gonna do that self-expression? You know, in what manner? Is that wearing a tail? If you're gonna be going out with people who maybe won't be as supportive, maybe that just means wearing a shirt with a wolf on it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And whatever you do, and we're gonna talk about different ways to do that self-expression as well, but Yeah, and just to something real quick that Teddy just said, at university there was a guy that wore a tail daily, and when he lost it, nearly the school dropped everything to help him look. I think that's totally true. I have a little. This is not quite the same thing, but I have a little stuffed frog backpack. I'm 29 years old. It's a stuffed frog.
Frogs are important.
And like everywhere I go, I get tons of people complimenting me on it. And it's adults 9 times out of 10. It is usually not children. It is usually people who look at me and clearly wish they were carrying the frog backpack. Like, you know what I mean? So it's, sometimes these kinds of self-expressions, and that's why it's important to say, hey, maybe there are, opportunities that you could wear a tail at. I've worn a tail in public when I've been with friends who I knew would be supportive of me, and it was in an environment that I knew was going to be less aggressive.
Yeah.
It's all about level of safety. Sorry, Pete. I think I jumped in there before your second talking point. I was just
No,
like,
you jumped in at a great point. I loved what you said. And yeah, if you feel comfortable with it, talk to your friends and your family about how you want to be referred. My wife knows that I like being called her puppy or her dog. And she does that, and it makes me feel great, and I love it a lot.
My husband knows that patting my head is the quickest way to calm me down.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm, and I mean that sincerely, like if I'm having a big stress response, I know y'all know that I mean that sincerely. You hear me automatically deflecting. But it's if he pats my head, I just immediately, if I can be really tense, really upset, and it just immediately calms me down. And it's good to have people in your life that can bring that joy into it.
Also, listen to your own discomfort. Like, if you realize you are feeling unsafe when you're wearing a tail in public, you can take the tail off and then put it back on later when you do feel safe again. Your own discomfort is important, and it does matter. And you shouldn't let people cross your boundaries.
A quick note on kind of the chat that's happening about like if people wore tails in public, would it become more regular? If people wore more tails, it would be more across the board. And I think there's been a really great example of that in kitty cat ears. Oh my gosh, when I was 14, if kitty cat ears and the way that they are now were as popular to wear, I would have never, I'm not even catkin, but you can bet I would have wore kitty cat ears to school every heckin' day. And like now that's really popular. Like Gen Z has made that acceptable, I feel, or definitely a lot more acceptable than it was.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's great. Like, I think that's wonderful. And I think, Kit, I think you're absolutely right. I think that, like, if those things come into fashion more and more, it becomes more okay. Unfortunately, right? Like, I hate that it's got to be like that, but...
Yeah, but the more people who start to express themselves these ways, the more safe it'll be for more people to do it.
And, part of it's about conservation of energy too, though. It's about, is this going to be something that's going to help you? Is it going to give you euphoria, or is it going to give you dysphoria? Sometimes, we want to go out and we want to feel good, but the big problem that we run into when people like mock us for doing things that make us feel more stable in ourselves. So like I wear a tail out in public and someone mocks me for it. The deal that one of the things that I'm going to probably deal with is some species dysphoria, right? And so I may make the decision not to do that, and it's not failing my inner wolf. It's keeping my inner wolf safe because it's not anybody else's business. And so like what instead I might do is maybe that day I wear a wolf printed shirt, or maybe that day I wear a scarf, which gives me an impression of like a ruff around my neck and makes me feel more like a wolf. There are all kinds of different ways that you can find to express that, if you need that. It's about conserving your energy, keeping yourself safe. You don't have to disclose who you are to everybody. Like, it's not their business. Following that, kind of on our next slide, we just kind of put together a compilation of what we've lovingly called daily enrichment, a la being a zoo animal. We feel like nurturing your inner kin is much like, being pent up in a zoo. You are metaphorically giving yourself pumpkins stuffed with meat when you do things that indulge your species euphoria.
Mhm.
Pete, would you like to share some of your things you have on here?
Yeah, I've got down in the bottom corner, there's me wearing my fursuit. I really like wearing my fursuit. It's fun. It's great being able to just be a furry animal. And as someone who does like receiving head pats at like a furry convention, it's great just being in a fursuit and people coming up to you and being like, "Oh, can I pet you? You're so cute." It feels really good. It makes me feel like a good dog. I've got a wolf stuffed animal that is really special to me. I got it when me and my wife were on our honeymoon. So it just is a good friend that reminds me of the love I have for my wife. And it feels really good to just think about that sometimes. I also have, my wife and I have a spot that we like to go to at a nearby river. And it's just so wonderful to just be out in nature and just exist in nature. And our house is basically in a forest. So we can just decide to go for a walk and we're in the woods. And it's absolutely lovely. And then I do also I keep a pseudo altar of werewolf stuff. It's also on the bottom row of this slide. With the werewolf mask, and there's a photograph of a wolf that my dad took in Yellowstone. And then there's a few other things. And then on the same shelf with that, I keep a whole bunch of comics and books that are all werewolf related, so I can just go through them and just feel good werewolf feelings when I want to. And Sin, what's some of the stuff that you have?
Some of the things I have on here, on the far left side, kind of on the second, I've shown my nails, which I have with my Harvest Moon tattoo. I keep my nails long, and it's something that it's a self-care thing that I've done to keep my nails long and tough. And it's really funny because everybody's always like, "Oh, your nails are so pretty," and I'm like, "Thanks," and they don't know in my head that it's because I'm like, "They're my claws." Like, yeah, you don't know that I'm a werewolf, but I am. And something to just kind of be able to clicky clack my little nails on the table is a really discreet way to give myself a little bit of kin euphoria that nobody else knows about. That's my kin euphoria, and I get to have that feeling. And so I love to have some claws. Songs to go a woo is a playlist that I've made. I can throw it in here.
It is a very good playlist.
I like it. It's basically just random songs that have a part of the song that goes a woo in it. It's just random songs, normal songs, that quote unquote, as they might say, that you can listen to that have parts of the songs that let you go a woo along to it. For me, that's really kin euphoric, and it's something that I can do, around around anybody. So the let's see what else is on here. This eating food out of dog bowls, and obviously now all this is we're werewolves, so we've catered our slide to what we are, which is werewolves. And
yeah, we used examples from our own lives.
We just use dog stuff.
It is a little dog specified, but
there's ways to do this for anything and anyone. My own altar there, which has a bunch of my wolf stuff on it. Some of you accurately spotted the Divine Canine Tarot, which is my third tarot deck. Absolutely my most euphoric, in the sense that the cards just feel right to me and feel good to me. Thank you so much for linking that. I absolutely recommend this deck. It's wonderful. And then we also have our J dog up here in the top right corner, being a very good dog in suit as well.
Mhm.
And then at the bottom right, that's just an outfit that I put together a couple of years ago that was really kin euphoric. There was like boxers. It was very gender euphoric as well. Had like boxers with wolves all over them. My werewolf girlfriend shirt, and my tail, and a big wolf claw that someone had made me. And it's just little ways that you can celebrate yourself and your species.
Yeah, and I also have a lot of wolf and werewolf themed T-shirts. I'm actually wearing one that my wife bought for me recently. It's a pink shirt, which is my favorite color, and it has a moon with a silhouette of a wolf, and it says "Awoo" on it. I love it a lot, and I actually have the same exact shirt also in black, so I can wear it very often. I'm very happy about it.
I have a blue shirt on that has a snarling wolf with orange accents, and it says Wolf's Howl Pub, sharp teeth and hard drinks. And I love it. And I got this on Poshmark. So, there's ways to find this stuff. It's out there. This is the wholesome panel. Good. I'm glad that what a good brand for this panel to have gotten. That makes me warm.
Oh, also another thing, another type of daily enrichment that I saw. I saw recently a tweet that was a person had made like scale mail dragon scale arms with claw tipped gloves. They were very good and they made very nice sounds when you like ran the claws over the scales. It was very pretty.
Yes, I love that, and I'm not even a dragon. Like, just I can't even imagine the euphoria. So rolling past that, dignity and animality. I don't know how many of you are Watership Down fans. It's pretty lit. I recommend it. It's a real good book. This is a personal favorite quote that we wanted to make sure to throw some homage to. Animals don't behave like men, he said. If they have to fight, they fight, and if they have to kill, they kill. They don't sit down and set their wits to work ways to devise. They don't set their wits to work to devise ways of spoiling other creatures' lives and hurting them. They have dignity and animality. And so this was something that personally resonates with me, with my animality. It may not resonate with you, but it did for me. So we wanted, and for all of us, I should say. So we wanted to include it on here. But Jay down here in the corner reminding us to wake up and choose to be an animal on purpose is kind of what this is about, is the kind of the purpose of the euphoria of this, and us encouraging the euphoria is saying every day that you want to be an animal. And so some other ways we kind of wanted to talk about encouraging that is deciding what that means for you in your own life. I've known people who, have done all kinds of different things pursuing and following, what their kin type meant for them. And so that can look like researching your kin type with books, documentaries. I'm currently reading The Reign of Wolf 21, which is a really wonderful book about the wolves of Yellowstone. And it follows their behavior and different things that they have done, and like some things that we can learn as, living this existence. And so for me, that may mean things like, sorry, I'm skipping ahead. There was a really good documentary I watched a while back. Yeah, Wolf 21 is wonderful. There's a really good documentary I watched a while back about Arctic wolves. And so how does your kin type's natural behavior reflect in your current lived experience? And so we wanted to say lived experience because we recognize that a lot of us here don't identify as human, but in your current lived experience, how are you reflecting your kin type's behavior? And so is it just in your physical everyday? And so one of the things we kind of wanted to try to encourage here is like what are ways that we can do that in our behavior as well? So, sorry, I'm trying to get back to my notes on this. I thought I had notes on this. I don't. Oh well. We'll just keep going. How are you adapting those behaviors? So for me, I am a wolf, and wolves are really big about a sense of community, building togetherness. Obviously, they're family units. And so for me, I choose to adapt that in my everyday life by trying to build community. I'm from a really rural area. I've done a lot of things to help bring my community together in different ways, and that's one way that I follow my calling of and that I feel like I'm a wolf, is that I help bring people together around me, or I try to. And so it's just like trying to look at your life not only in the sense of like, and actually, Very There has a really good comic about this. To just plug that again. They have a really good page where it talks about, different ways that that Ken might look at the world and say, okay, well, if I'm non-human, maybe my calling is to help preserve nature, or is that the specific comic? You're so strong, Sin. Oh no, the bad request. It timed out. It's so close. It's in there. It's in there somewhere. Um, so there's a really good page where it just talks about different ways that Ken have chosen to live their experience, whatever that means for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it not always having to be like a physical thing. So
Yes.
your questions are good.
One thing that I did, there's a book by Mark Rowlands called The Philosopher and the Wolf, and it's about the guy who, like the guy who wrote the book himself, like helped rehabilitate a wolf dog from like when it was a puppy. And so it's about his interactions with this high content wolf dog, basically. And in it, like, one of the big things that he talks about is that wolves kind of live in the now. They take care of what needs to be taken care of, and they don't worry so much about tomorrow or a week from now. But they do what needs to be done today. And I like that a lot. I try to think of that when I lose focus. And I don't know, it was a very good book.
Yeah, and it's about trying to use your kin euphoria as a tool to help yourself live better and live in a way that aligns to your center better. How can you fulfill your kin type in more than just wearing a tail, which is great and we love it, and I have a tail and I wear it all the time, but how else can we nurture that in ways that are more personal to our center?
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of following that onto our next panel, embracing the cringe.
It is okay to be cringe. One man's cringe is another man's treasure. Kurt Vonnegut said that, this is a Kurt Vonnegut Jr. quote. He said, "I tell you, we are here on Earth to fart around, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise." And I think he's right. We're here, and we're on the Earth, and we have our whole lifetimes, and it shouldn't all be pain or things that bug us. We can find things that we like. Sometimes other people won't get that, and they will see it as cringe. But if it's not hurting yourself and not hurting other people, have fun.
You are just a little creature. That's it. You cannot change this.
Yes, thank you for the wisdom, the cat Pee-Pee from Pee-Pee Playhouse on Twitter. It is really good to just be a little creature sometimes. And even if other people don't always get that, like, I get it, and I have friends and family who get it. And it is healing and fulfilling to be a little creature.
And, something that we could honestly take a whole panel talking about, and I think that's the reason we haven't really touched on it, is because I think we could probably go on for it for a while, is, I'm autistic. They overlap with the autism and neurodivergence across the board. with queer and trans experiences, all that stuff. The mocking of otherkin, of furry, of any of this kind of stuff is often a red flag for people just needing an excuse to make fun of you. For you're not doing they found something that's not acceptable enough and a way to lean into. Yeah, it's very rooted in ableism.
Yes, it's people finding excuses to make fun of you or to mock you for things that aren't a problem. It's just people being mean.
Like, it's literally just people being mean.
People that they don't understand.
And because it's outside that realm of understanding, because it's something they can't relate to, it scares them. And but you know what? That's okay. It's it doesn't, kind of like what we were going back to before, and Jay said something really good about this when we were talking about all of this. And it was that they don't feel the need to go up to everybody on the street and convince them that they're a wolf. It's an exercise in trust. It's an expression of trust. I'm sorry, an expression of trust.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about that a lot, like with my autism, with being queer. Like, that is not always something that I'm going to tell everybody, because sometimes that's, for me, it's something that informs my experience, and it's something that I'm allowed to be proud of, and I'm allowed to appreciate and enjoy. I just have to find people that support that. So yeah, embrace cringe. It's beautiful. I remember when they called Britney Spears cringe. That was one of the earliest cringes. And now see where we are with Britney Spears and the way they've treated Britney Spears, and like that, what all of that ended up being, cringe is, it's not the way. It's not the way. It's about loving yourself and having enough self-love to be both real with yourself in a way that helps you it's about being real with yourself in a way that helps you grow. And sometimes that also means being real with yourself doesn't always mean being negative about yourself. It also means celebrating yourself. Yeah, oh my gosh, can we get Dolly Parton and Britney Spears at Othercon next year?
Yeah, guests of honor next year.
Yeah, so in conclusion, we'll start answering some questions. Go be an animal.
Yeah, celebrate yourself and your animality. Being yourself on purpose is good and healthy, and there is virtue in self-indulgence.
We picked a capybara because they love to hang out with any animal.
Mm-hmm. They love to just vibe and be animals with other animals.
Yeah, just be a little creature. It's never hurt anybody, and to be a little creature. I probably shouldn't say it's never hurt anybody, but y'all know what I mean. Be smart about it, but follow our what or where, who, what, how, and be smart and be a little creature.
Mm-hmm.
So to hop over to our questions, let's see. We already answered stereotypes, Euphoria in general. Are we going to go over awakenings? You got a lot of Euphoria after figuring out. I'm wondering if you had similar experiences. Pete, did you have like an awakening Euphoria?
Kind of, yes. As I said at the beginning of the panel, I learned about Therians through like a werewolf message board. And when I first joined the message board, I was like, oh, I fit in with these people. Like, I can just be a wolf with these people, and that is marvelous. That's wonderful. Even if I can't always just be a wolf out in my everyday life in the real world, I can be a wolf with these people, and they get it, and they are a supportive community.
Absolutely. I had a Euphoria. Yeah, I mean, I was pretty young when I realized that I was a wolf. But it's funny because I was actually really into cats before I became a wolf, and dogs were okay. I wasn't super into dogs yet, and but I was just really into cats. I thought cats were really cool. My sister liked dogs, so we couldn't be the same, And I read Julia of the Wolves, and I don't know if any of you have read that, but it was my first kind of like experience with reading about wolf behavior. And I as I flipped through and was reading it, I was like, this is me. I'm on this. I'm in these pages. Like I've never seen. I don't know how, but this is who I am. And yeah, so definitely had that like awakening experience for sure. Would feeling euphoria from being let's see, trying to go down the list. Would feeling euphoria from being referred to as something like a planet be called species euphoria?
I think it's functionally the same thing, but maybe like just kin euphoria would be a more accurate phrase.
I've been introduced to the term heart home this weekend, and that's a new one for me that describes a succinct experience that I've had. And I really love it. And so I'm just going to plug it here again because I just think it's really, really cool. And I think that almost sounds like a heart home thing. I think, being, saying, okay, this is who, like someone certifying that you're from a certain planet would be like, it's like if someone were to acknowledge me being from Hyrule, I'm always like, thank you. I appreciate it. Because that's correct. So yeah, I think there's some overlap there. Do you think encouraging people to change their circumstances where they can to increase the amount of tail in their lives, so to say, is a reasonable thing? Yeah, I think so. I think that like you would really love to. I think the goal is always going to be trying to be in environments where you can be more yourself over time.
Yeah.
And trying to, if that means having to like, I mean, because like, for example, my husband and I have been together 10 years. When we first started getting to know each other, he wasn't super receptive to Ken stuff. Now he is Ken. Like it's, these things take time sometimes and people have to go through that process, but it definitely is a thing that, starting out, maybe wearing my tail wasn't always the most comfortable thing for him and he didn't really understand it. And with time, he's reminds me to do things like that, to take care of myself.
And like when I was early in my tail wearing days, like I would wear a tail to a costume party. And then the next month I would wear a tail to a party that wasn't necessarily a costume party. And then I would wear a tail just to hang out. And then the more I did it, the more people would be like, oh yeah, Pete has a tail.
Yeah.
And that's just Pete has a tail.
And I think
it's not anything weird, like out of the norm anymore,
Yeah, warming yourself into that pool, kind of dipping your toe in the water and graduating like doing it slowly is a great way. I definitely started my conversations with like, for example, with my husband, the first conversation was, hey, so I like really relate to wolves in just like a really, like big way. Like, for example, if I picture myself, sometimes I'm like, a wolf. Isn't that, huh? And he was like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. And then now it's like, I'm a wolf, and he's like, I know, honey. It's just a fact. And so yeah, but weaning in, and I think the idea of coming to accept it over time is definitely good. You want to see that increase, those circumstances increase. Thoughts on hiding your Otherkin theory inside behind animal roleplay groups like Pup and Furry? I know it was discussed yesterday, but I'm kind of curious what people think about Furry and Pup if they don't want to go to detail. So I don't want to go too far into that because I don't want to breach into like 18 up topics, but I think it's fine. I think it's all about like, it goes back to that like area assessment around you and saying like, but the overlap in those communities is honestly huge. I don't know what the Venn diagram looks like, but the bubbles are not super far apart.
Yeah, there's a lot of connection there. Also, like, similar to what we said about you don't ever have to disclose, like, you don't have to tell just a random stranger that you're a wolf. Like, you don't have to reveal personal information about yourself to anyone. It's your identity and your life, and like if you want to be intimate with your friends and your family and tell them details about yourself, that is totally fine. But if you don't feel like saying, "Oh, I'm otherkin," and it's easier or makes more sense or is safer or feels more right to say, "Oh, I'm a furry," that is totally within your rights and abilities.
Yeah, and like, yeah, absolutely. You don't ever have to disclose that to anybody. And like, I think that people in those communities are generally going to be a lot more receptive. But I don't think you're like hiding. You know, like
Yeah.
I don't think you're deceiving anybody. I think that if you're enjoying the experience of being a furry or in, you know, doing pup play or whatever it is, then you are still effectively in that.
Just so you guys know, you have about 12 minutes left, but you are the last panel for today, so you can just do whatever, honestly. If you guys want to keep answering questions or whatever.
You're so
24-hour
strong. Thank
panel.
you. Just gotta keep going. Have we tried VR
Forever
before?
panel.
I haven't tried VR before. I would love to.
I've done a small amount of VR, but not any with like custom avatars.
think it would be real cool. There's a place not far from here that does VR stuff, but with everything with COVID being funky and like also I don't want to go in and be like, "Hey, I need you to make me a werewolf, please." Um you know, but one day I would really love to be able to do that.
Yeah, I am
Really
very fascinated by the growth and popularity of VR, especially in furry and non-human circles. It's really cool and really interesting, and a lot of people, from what I've seen, are getting a lot of species euphoria from having an avatar that looks like how they feel they should look. You know, the animal that they should be. So yeah, I am interested in trying more of it, but
yeah,
haven't yet.
I have definitely heard really positive experiences. So, as a fellow canine, I'm curious, do you feel more comfortable in layered and winter clothing in comparison to lighter and summer clothes? Yeah, definitely. That, you know, may not be a universal experience, but for me, yeah, for sure. I definitely love to be layered up. I love to feel bundled up in cold weather because it kind of simulates what I feel like, you know, maybe having fur in the cold would be like.
Also really like feeling bundled up in the winter. So yeah. And Sin had said before that they like to wear like a big scarf. I also like, this isn't as much about cold weather, but I like to wear a necktie and use like a full Windsor to tie it in a full Windsor knot, because then that gives me the feeling of like a chest ruff.
Can Euphoria about camping, living off the land? Absolutely. That stuff is great. I think that's I'm pagan and I'm part of a temple back home in the mountains and nothing like there's really wonderful euphoria to be had in just, you know, laying out in the woods. And kind of that leads into what's the best feeling of species euphoria you felt. Some of the best species euphoria I've had is I have, you know, a group of friends that know that I'm a wolf and they aren't all otherkin, but they respect that I am and they acknowledge me that way. And so probably something like being bundled up in a big pile of my friends and with my tail on and some nice movie on and my stomach full of good food that I've just chowed down on and like had this gorging with my pack experience and then dozing with them, you know, comfortable and warm while it's, you know, chill outside. And that those are such wonderful experiences that, you know, every time I've had an experience like that, I'm like, this is what it is to be a wolf, and it feels good. So that's probably been some of like some of my best species euphoria.
My wife is really good at scratching behind my ears.
Aww.
It feels very good. Scratches. It's very good and makes me feel very, very dog.
Absolutely. And being in a pile with my dogs, I have 2 dogs, and so like and one of my dogs in particular loves to like cuddle pile, and loves to dog pile, and so just being piled up with her and hanging out with her is really good species euphoria for me because
Mm-hmm.
just hang out and be dogs, and it's nice. I'm worried I'm gonna miss some questions, but I'm kind of answering questions in the questions channel. So if you have questions, make sure to throw them there. What are your thoughts on expressions of kinninity that are more out there, such as animal vocalizations, nonverbal shifts, or walking on all fours? I think they're wonderful. And I think that people who mock and derive them are, again, just trying to mock and derive something they don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And
Very agreed.
I think that those, because again, quote unquote, loosely, they are more out there and things that people might be aggressive to you for. I think that they're definitely things that are worth doing that risk assessment about of in the area, but also like realistically, some of these expressions are just going to be expressions that you're going to have, and that's okay. You're not hurting anybody. Some of my best kin euphoria has also been crawling around on all fours at night in my house because it feels good to crawl around on all fours in my house.
It does. We recently moved, and the place that we're in now has a staircase, like a full staircase that honestly, it's great to run up on all fours. It's a very good crawling staircase.
Yeah, and I I love to I whine, I growl, I love to howl. Like I said earlier, one of my things is like if I get an urge to howl, I literally made this playlist so that I could make animal vocalizations and people wouldn't question me about it because I'm singing to a song and nobody's going to question me howling along to a song.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in like a note to acknowledge that it is ridiculous that these are things we might have to do safety assessments on because you're not hurting anybody. But again, for your own safety, it's worth doing just because it's all about like is it worth somebody being aggressive about it? And if you feel like it was worth it, then and you feel like you are okay for that, then hey, fight that fight. Stand up for yourself. I think it's worth it. Before you learned you were Ethereum, did you ever wonder if you were because you don't feel human? I don't know if I fully understand the question. Before you learned you were Ethereum, did you wonder if you were because basically I think you're asking, did I feel non-human before I realized that I was Ethereum? Is that right? Oh yeah, no, yeah. I can't speak a whole lot to that experience because I kind of like got on to being Ethereum when I was like 8, and then found the term Ethereum when I was like 12. So I don't remember. I don't think I thought that I was crazy, but I definitely knew that I was different.
Yeah, I definitely felt weird. Like I noticed that I had some differences between me and other people.
For sure.
And I was just like, I don't know. I like animals more than I like people. I wish I could be an animal. And I think I recognized at an early age that was not something everyone felt. But
I was saying to my husband before the panel started, because we were just chatting, that being a wolf is one of the foundational principles of my life experience that I realized really young, and it's one of the only things of my identity my whole life that I've been like, this is accurate. Like this is one thing that I know. I may not know other things, but I know this thing, and it is that I am a wolf. And it and I knew that made me different from other people. Yeah.
Yeah,
but that was okay because I'm a wolf, so I'm not like other people's.
Yeah, I've known for a very long time, like even before I started identifying as a Therian or otherkin or non-human at all. I've always known that I really wished I had a tail. And I didn't know what that was about for a lot of, like, for a bunch of my childhood. But I always knew that was an important character trait of mine, one of my base character traits.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think that's like our time. We're roughly at like roundabouts an hour. And we've gone through all of our questions. So does anybody have any more questions, or are we good to wrap up? I hope that this was helpful for some people. We were kind of like, well, we kind of feel like we're just going to sit and be excited about Ken for an hour, but I hope that our enthusiasm about it translated to you as well and made you feel excited about being Ken. Because it is really amazing. And it's this really awesome, unique experience that we have to
Yeah.
be, I was saying to Pete just the emotions that I had earlier listening to panels and listening to people from all over the world having, all these different accents of people coming in and talking about, their experiences with being Therian and being Otherkin and being systems and, the there are just so many like nuances to this experience. And real quick, Wolf, I saw your comment. Yes, absolutely. And I know that kink is totally non-sexual. Big supporter of non-sexual kink. I just didn't want to delve too far into it in a, I don't want to cross the line. Love the pup community though. Very, very important part of our culture. I think I would say that it definitely overlaps.
I think y'all have one more question in the questions channel if you want to pop it real quick.
Oh, Ferdinand says, did you and your friends ever do some non-human type things? Like me and my friends used to wear stuffed animal snakes as tails and pretend we were dragons when we were little. I mean, when I would play like pretend story games with my friends in elementary school, I was like a talking velociraptor. Or I would be the brother of Reepicheep from Chronicles of Narnia. So I would even when my other friends were like, oh, we're like, I'm a space pirate, I'd be like, oh, I'm a werewolf. When we would play as kids.
My fiction kin type, which I haven't talked about as much here, is Link Legend of Zelda. And when I was a kid, my cousin and I used to play Legend of Zelda, but like pretend playing Legend of Zelda. And we almost came to blows multiple times because he always tried to make me be Princess Zelda, who is wonderful and I love. But I was always like, no, I'm Link. That's how this works. And like, we really did. We almost fought several times because it was just because he was like, no, you're, at the time I was a girl and, it was like, no, you have to be Zelda, and I was like, that's incorrect though. So yeah, definitely. I also had some cool, like, I lived out in the sticks, very from a rural area, and I had some neighbors that were our age from down the road, and when I was young, like run in the woods, feral creature as a kid, we would howl to each other to let each other know that we were getting close to each other's houses.
That's so wonderful.
So when you heard the howling, that's how you knew that your friends were almost there. And that was so euphoric. I miss that so much, honestly. I wish I could still howl to let my friends know that I'm almost at their house.
Mm-hmm. And my dad, since almost my entire life, has been a high school biology teacher. So I have always had random animals in my house that my dad keeps. And I always had a lot of books on animals and nature. And so I just was, even from a young age, just drawn to animals. Animals are good.
Yeah, animals good. Love animal. Okay, I think that's it for us. Any other last minute questions before we go? Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I hope everyone liked the panel.
Yeah, you were all good dogs. I guess this is probably where we should plug our server. So we do have a
Oh, sure.
server for were creatures, or anybody aligned with werewolves, or even if you just appreciate them or feel that your kin manifests in a werewolfy way. Mostly it's just a place to build community. We call it WWW or WereWeb. It's the World Wide WereWeb. And we just try to aim to be like a wholesome community of this kind of vibe. So we'll be sure to throw that in the there's a
Advertisements.
That's where we'll put it, in the advertisements.
Oh, Sin just shared a link in the panel 4 chat. Beautiful. Thank you, Sin.
We'll still put it in the advertisements though. Yeah, that way you're welcome to hop over there. Got a good team. And thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. Oh.
Awoo. You've all been wonderful.
Thank you all for the panel. The next event is going to be Spirited Away at 12 a.m. If you guys want to go ahead and head over there, in 2 hours, I guess. But yeah, thank you all for the panel. It was really fun. Hope you guys